Hi, everybody, and welcome to the press. Welcome to the start of the Farmers Insurance Open Week. I'm Ryan Ballingy. It's great to have you here with us. Apologies for getting this show out a little bit later than I would have liked on a Monday. I live in the D.C. area, and we had quite a bit of snow and then ice on top of it on Sunday. My son and I helped, we cleared out a driveway pretty early in the process on Sunday and felt pretty good about it, and then it came down for even longer than we expected. And this afternoon, I probably spent 3 hours with an industrial ice scraper / floor scraper, getting the ice as like sheets. Like if you check out my personal Instagram, you can see a picture of what the sheets look. It's crazy. So it took a long time to get that cleared out, and this meant getting it out to you. This show out to you later today. We'll do our 3 shows this week. We've got a pretty full slate. So we've got the Farmers Insurance Open. We'll do first reads, first thoughts, some early analysis today. Tomorrow we'll do our model in more in depth. That'll be on video as well. And then our third show of the week will encompass the LPGA's season opener at Lake Nona in Orlando, where I just was for the PGA Merchandise Show, for the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions. Then we also have the Bahrain Championship over on the DP World Tour. And we've got the Panama Championship, which starts on a Thursday, their first Thursday to Sunday tournament of the year, down in Central America. Today, we're just talking about the Farmers Insurance Open, and we're going to go with first reads, first thoughts, kind of some horses for courses, just some thoughts based on last week, and then we'll wrap it all up and get you out of here pretty quickly. So, for those of you who don't know, this is the Farmers Insurance Open. It's a $9.6 million event this year. It's a big increase. I think about $500,000 over last year, if I remember right. And they're basically playing for a $1.72 million first place prize this week. 500 FedEx Cup points to the winner. You got 29 of the world top 50 competing. Little smaller field this year. They kept the 156 for the American Express because it was on 3 courses. This being on 2, they're not going to be at that number. It kind of depends on what happens with Monday qualifying and withdrawals and stuff. The field could expand a little bit. Because remember, Brooks Koepka is playing this week, making his PGA Tour return for the first time in 4 years. And as a condition of his returning member program status, when he enters a field, he doesn't take spots away from existing exempt players. So if the player count gets on an odd number so that it doesn't work for 2s and 3s, they add more players to the field to account for Koepka so that they can have twosomes and threesomes, particularly threesomes, that makes sense. So we may see some additional players. This is supposed to be a 144-player field. I think it could wind up being 147 in the end. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Monday qualifying and withdrawals and stuff. But the field could expand from what we have currently. Monday qualifier being played today, 4 spots available. Because it's a 2-course event. All right, all that said, we're playing this tournament on 2 courses. We're playing on the South course, which is the host. That'll host the weekend, rounds 3 and 4. And each player gets a round on that in rounds 1 and 2. The other course is the North course. If you've ever been to Torrey Pines, it's gorgeous. It's incredible. I've had the good fortune to play there. The South course is a monster from the tips, just shy of 7,800 yards, par 72. About 600 yards, 500 yards shorter to play the North course, also par 72. Since the renovation, and I forget when it was on the North course, like 2019, 18? I don't remember anymore. But that golf course is a little bit harder than it used to be. I mean, that used to be a pushover. That used to be, all right, you go play there, you try to shoot as close to 60 as you can, and then you try to do what you can on the South course, and then it kind of levels itself out, and you try to handle the South course as best you can for the 3rd and 4th rounds. It's a little bit tighter in terms of scoring average difference than it used to be. But still relatively easy, especially way shorter. The big challenge on Torrey South is just keeping the ball in play, keeping it in front of you. The rough can get pretty long there. The Kikuyu can be pretty nasty. You got a lot of POA, which makes it hard to read greens and putting surfaces. It just kind of makes it hard to putt in general. We're at that part of the schedule with being toward the actual coast on the West Coast swing, where we're going to deal with POA. We're going to deal with green speed irregularities throughout the course of the day. You're going to deal with kind of weird lines. Putting is difficult. So the real strategy to succeeding on the South course, keep the ball in play off the tee, give yourself a decent chance to hit these greens, and on the South course, they are pretty big. And eventually, if you give yourself enough opportunities at greens and regulation and you kind of hold it together, you're going to make some birdies. The par 5s are not pushovers. The par 4s, most of them are not pushovers. Neither the par 3s. I mean, they're all pretty long. You're going to have to hit some medium, long irons pretty routinely on this golf course. So we'll talk a little bit about that more tomorrow. That's just an added caveat in all of this. And I typically don't look at strokes gained on iron shots from 175 to 200 or 200 to 225, but we will talk about that tomorrow in our handicapping. All right, all that said, we did all that introduction about the tournament. Now let's talk about the opening lines. Xander Schauffele is your betting favorite. He is 14.5 to 1, 15 to 1 at some shops, 14 to 1 at others. This is on oddschecker.com. You get your information wherever you'd like, but hanging around that range. Ludwig Aubert, who you will remember, won the Genesis Invitational on this golf course last year because they had to move it because of the horrible wildfires out in Los Angeles. He is 18 to 1. Cameron Young's 22, Siwoo's 25, along with Patrick Cantlay. Hideki Matsuyama, who's got a pretty good track record here, 29 to 1. JJ Spawn 30, Chris Gotterup 30, Jason Day 30, already been bet down. You get on him quickly, and I will say that again tomorrow. I'm on him. I think you should be on him. He probably should have won PGA West. You got Scheffler, man. You're not beating Scotty Scheffler right now, but Scotty Scheffler's not here this week. Jason Day can win this tournament, has a good track record. Matt McNeely's 35, stay away. Harris English, the actual defending champion of this tournament, is 40. I'm going to stay away from him. Taylor Pendrith is 40. Keegan Bradley is 40. I'm probably going to step in on him a little bit. I would like to see him drift a little bit more to 45 to 1, and I would be really interested. I'm going to wait on that a little bit. I don't think a lot of money's going to come in on him because he didn't play particularly well at Sony. Probably upset about it, but he does have a good track record on this golf course. Jake Knapp, Ryan Gerard, Adam Scott, all 45 to 1. I think if you bet Ryan Gerard this week, you're assuming the guy who had 2 runner-up finishes to start the year is somehow going to do better. That's a tough ask of anybody. I don't care who you are. He's been playing great. Maybe you want to look at him on a top 10 this week or a top 20. Eventually, he's going to get tired, and it just takes a lot out of you to play golf at that high a level in contention. It is extremely stressful. It takes a lot of energy out of you. So I would find it unlikely that he would do well. Really, as well. Wyndham Clark and Max Homa, Sam Stevens are 47 to 1. I'm kind of starting to get that feeling again about Max Homa. It's not quite there yet, but he's getting there. Wyndham Clark at 47 to 1. I just can't bet him on this golf course because the driving corridors are what they are. And he played well in a desert golf scenario last week, but those courses were short, and he didn't need driver off the tee on a lot of shots. This is different. Alex Noren is 50 to 1 with Rasmus Højgaard, Michael Thorbjornsen, who I will have a piece of this week. I think this course makes sense for him. He's been inching toward that first PGA Tour win, played pretty well in the fall. Again, length is not going to be an issue for him. He hits the ever-living snot out of it. He just keeps it in play and just kind of keeps his head about him and be okay. Will Zalatoris is 52 to 1. Probably started at 55, came down to 52. I know he has a good track record on this golf course. I know he played well last week at PGA West. My only reservation about betting him is his back. Your back can go bad at any minute, right? Back surgeries begat more back surgeries, et cetera, et cetera. All the stuff I've said over the years. But he is playing well. He likes the golf course. And this price is interesting enough to maybe take a swipe at it. Brooks Koepka, welcome back, 55 to 1. I'm not betting him until I see what he's got. I have no idea what he's got. I'm sure he is excited to play well. I'm sure he's practiced hard. He is not going to just show up and flail about. Garrick Higo, same number. Marco Penge and Aaron Rai, Justin Rose, Nikolai Højgaard, Patrick Rogers, Pearson Coody, all in that 60 to 1 range. Pearson Coody has played pretty well. He's stayed pretty consistent. I think this second go-round of the PGA Tour is going to be good for him. I think Marco Penge is going to need a little bit of time to get it right on the PGA. I think he will. I think he's an extremely talented player. But I think he'll need a little bit of time. Nikolai Højgaard could be interesting here at 60 to 1. If you're going to go with anybody in this kind of range, I think you go Matt McCarty. I think he's figured out how to play the PGA Tour. in his second full season. He has a lot more confidence. He looked very good at PGA West. He looked very good throughout the fall. You could tell as he's seemingly very observant. He's got all the length you need. He's not, outrageously long or anything, but he does a lot of things very, very well, and that's going to make him a lot of money over the course of his career. Akshay Bhatia, I don't know, man. 66-1 looked horrible last week. Davis Thompson, Max Grazerman, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, who I love, 70-1. Denny McCarthy has been cashing checks. It hasn't looked pretty, but 80-1. I just don't think he has the driver accuracy for this week. Torbjorn Olesen, Christian Bezadenhout, 80-1. No thank you. Keith Mitchell, Rico Hoey looked horrible last week, and then a WD. Kevin Hughes, 91. Sahith Theegala is a little longer than 91, close to 95, along with Hao Tong Lee. I think Sahith Theegala is very interesting this week. Seems to be healthy, seems to be playing well, seems to be determined. And those are good things. He has one good finish in this tournament. I think he could play he could be a very interesting sleeper this week. Some hundreds, Christopher Raitan, I think could play great. I think he can really figure this tour out pretty quickly. Michael Brennan and Andrew Novak are around 100-1, getting a little longer. Jordan Smith is 100-1. I was about to say Spieth. Max McGreevy, 110 with Alex Smalley and Matt Meisner. Those guys are 100, so, these are live numbers just popping about. Your 125s, Eric Cole, who I liked quite a bit last week and played pretty well. Lee Hodges, I think, interests me a little bit. He seems to do well in these you can't miss off the tee courses, but I don't love it. 125 for Doug Gim, Vince Whaley, Matt Wallace. Johnny Kiefer is 135-1. I think he could do very, very well on a golf course like this. In my mind, playing Torrey South, if you're coming off the Korn Ferry Tour, is a lot like playing the Die course at French Lick, which they didn't play it to its full length, which is 8102. However, they did play it from like 7650, and the playing corridors are so much narrower, in my opinion, at French Lick. Johnny Kiefer played great there. I think he can handle it. Seamus Power, John Perry, Sammy Valimaki, Billy Horschel's been playing well. Adrian Dumonte Chissart, Matty Schmid, Potgieter, Ricky Castillo, all about the 150-1 range. I think of those, I would go with Dumonte Chissart the most. Again, I think he's learned a lot from his time on the Korn Ferry Tour. I'm just not totally sold. I'm not running to the window to go bet that number. Maybe Potgieter, but I'm worried that because he's made an equipment change, he's gone to PXG, that it's just going to take a little bit. And I know they do that way in advance. Like, they announce the stuff well after the fact that it's done, right? But still take some time to get used to. And you still, even if you're playing at home with it, you still need time to play when it matters in a big situation. And the PXGs are great, but it's just a little different. It's just different. Tom Hoagie, Dan Brown, Emiliano Grillo, Matt Hughes, Christopher Ventura, Jesper Svensson, Gary Woodland, Bo Hostler, Tony Finau, all 175-1. Finau did not look good as I would have hoped at the Amex. He does have a good track record here, so maybe we take something from that. Jesper Svensson, I swear, is going to figure this thing out. I know he's going to figure it out. I believe in the guy, but I'm not ready to bet him. I don't want to go like forever in this field. That's not even half the field. There are guys in the 5,000s and 1,500-1s, and we're never going to get there. There's no one in that range to go think about betting. At least I don't think so. Maybe a Zach Bouchot I think is kind of interesting, 875-1, but I'm, again, not telling you to go bet that. Other than that, like super longer shot guys, man. Nothing screams out to me. Neil Shipley was a little disappointing. I think it's going to take him some time. Kita Nakajima could be interesting to me. He played very well at Sony, I thought. And I know he has the game to handle anywhere. 250-1 is kind of interesting to me. Adrian Sadier, same thing. 250-1, kind of interesting to me, coming off the DP World Tour. Again, not firing hard at it, but could be interesting. Neil Shipley, I think, is sort of worth a look here. Again, if I'm taking my theory about the Die course, he played well there in the Korn Ferry Tour Championship. Really didn't have to, but he played pretty well. 275-1 seems a little disrespectful for his ability. What about like a Steven Yeager? Not playing great golf. I get that. But Yeager hits the ever-living hell out of the ball. He can reduce this golf course to something much shorter than a lot of players can. And he's won before on the PGA Tour on a golf course like Memorial Park that plays a little beefy at times. So I could be way off base on that, but I think 200-1 is at least worth a consideration. At least a thought. You don't have to love it, but I'm trying to get you guys some longer shots this week, particularly because I'm not convinced there is a player other than Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy that you have to bet. I mean, there are plenty of guys you shouldn't bet, but other than that, I think a lot of doors are open. I think we could be in for a year where when Scotty Scheffler plays, you're kind of hoping against hope he doesn't win, but when he doesn't play, anything is possible. Kevin Garnett, anything is possible. I think that is absolutely a thing here. Andrew Novak might also be worth a shot at that 100-1-ish range. So, I mean, of the players we talked about in this show, for longer shots at least, I like Thigala. I like Novak. I go Novak or Raitan. Either of those are fine. Maybe a Lee Hodges, but I'm not loving that. I'm probably going to bet Johnny Heifer way too many times this year because I know he has the capacity to do this. He had a good finish at the Amex. I think you would like something like this a little bit more. I think he can play this golf course very, very well. And then, up and above that, Siwoo Kim has played very well. Ryan Gerard's played very well. Cam Young's not played yet this year, but I mean he makes a lot of sense. He checks a lot of boxes. Jason Day is probably going to be my ride or die guy this week. I think I'm going to get on Thor Bjornsson and Zalatoris, and then we'll figure out the rest. So that's kind of my read of the situation. Again, I hope that this is kind of helpful in kind of giving you some players to think about, but also just kind of ways I think about tournament golf and how to kind of read a field at first, think about some courses. I tend to start with course history, then in recent form, the stuff that you could see, but it doesn't really tell you a ton. And then go and back that up with modeling. Say, okay, I care about the longer term vision of who these people are. Does that fit? Do their priors fit with what I want to do? And if they're relatively close in my modeling to where they're priced, all right, well, you can take a chance or not. And you can kind of rely on your spidey sense. But if they're way improperly priced to my benefit, I'm probably going to slam them and try to find a battery of 5 or 6 players in a field this size that you're comfortable with. Maybe go play one of them for a first-round leader bet. Again, you're going to have 2 markets for that this week because of the North and South, the dual start. So you do get 2 chances at that. That's kind of interesting. I'm not going to do a ton of handicapping on the North course. I will probably just think about South course first-round leader bets if I'm doing that. And then kind of go from there. This is a great tournament, I believe, to live bet because there can be a lot of movement up and down very, very quickly. Last week, I thought it was a good tournament to live bet if Scotty Scheffler weren't in contention because those courses, you can move so quickly on them to the positive, right? Torrey Pine's a little different. You can make doubles and triples, and you can make birdies. You might make an eagle, but an eagle's huge, but birdie is big on a lot of golf holes, at this tournament, particularly on the weekend. So something to think about if you're not a live bettor, and it can be kind of hard. That is more of an art than a science, in my opinion. I think there's more science at the beginning, more art of feeling it out, what holes you have left, how those holes are playing, who's in front of you, how they handle the pressure. Stuff that's it's tougher to quantify. It's not impossible, but tougher to quantify because you don't get a large sample of data because most of these guys don't contend every week. We talk about pressure situations in golf, but more often than not, they're never in them. They're never in there with a chance to win, a real chance to win. And it just gets ratcheted up more and more the farther you go into a tournament where you have a chance to win. So, further you go. So, if you ever care about like strokes gained under pressure, strokes gained within 3 strokes of the lead, those types of things, those are kind of interesting things to me, but I think the sample size for those, for so many people, is almost 0, or might as well be 0, that I don't see a lot of value in it. So, that's my take on Farmers Insurance Open. Tomorrow we'll give you a little bit more data with modeling to talk about everything. We'll talk about course history. We'll talk about course fits, all the stuff we usually talk about on video and audio for that second show of the week. And then Wednesday, we'll do everything else and just kind of give you some thoughts on those tournaments and take a stab at them. There's good value on the DP World Tour. We told you to bet Patrick Reed last week, so that was a nice little win. We get a little bit to talk about on the Corn Ferry Tour now that we've had a couple of events. This tournament's a little different than the others we've had so far. And the LPGA is back. And Gino Titicol and Nelly Corda are the clear 1 and 2 on that tour right now, in my opinion. But you could have some value here this week, and we'll talk about that a little bit. I think there are a couple plays that could be really interesting to start the year, especially coming off a season in the LPGA where they started with like 20 different winners. It was pretty wild. I don't think we're going to get that again, but I think there's still kind of a wild, wild west of players who can win when Titicol and Nelly, and I guess to a degree Lydia Ko, aren't playing their best. All right, that's going to do it for us this show. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. If you got any questions for me, Ryan at thegolfnewsnet.com. I'm on social media at Ryan Ballingy or Ryan Ballingy Golf. If you're on Blue Sky, I'm at ryan.thegolfnewsnet.com. You can find me there. Either way, join Golf Newsnet for $40 a year, $70 for 2 years, or $100 for 3 years at golfnewsnet.com. Get access to all of our tools, picks, all that good stuff that we do every week for our members. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow right here on The Press.